I never remember how to run a computer. I'll start it.
I did, I sure did, thank you. Well, I don't, I liked the first Charles. Whose chair? My chair.
It's on.
Okay. And
And you can raise it by grabbing the, no, grab the handle on the side to raise it up and down. There you go.
does that seem the right level? What if I,
You gotta be close to it.
even closer?
No, I mean, it's okay.
Okay, I'm so, like at the radio station, they tell us we have to be really
Yeah,
up
you
close.
gotta be
Yeah.
like 2 inches from it to really make it, pick up.
Whispering.
And still talk, project, because we can control the volume, but people, they get up to the microphone and they talk.
I am tempted to sing, but I won't do that. Thanks, Harry.
Do you have your copy?
I know they're in here.
So we're good.
Heather, 'cause
I know, I was. They were in one of these boxes.
Me. You.
Hello, Carol.
well, why are we not getting
It's the land acknowledgement, they need a response, they put it on the slides. So do we need you might want the summer sun is shining, which is like and then there was one off of this.
Well, that's weird. It is coming through on live stream, but we're not getting the. It can go in here.
I don't know that it's hot. This is a response for land acknowledgement, so if you could share it. Thank you.
There we go. How's the house thing going? Did you sell it this week?
Amy? Would you like me to light the chalice?
In here or in the front row?
Thank you.
Hey, Larry. Did you ever have it not show up when we were here?
Welcome to the Unitarian Church on this, the last Sunday of July, the last Sunday morning of July. Surprise lilies all over Lincoln are living up to their name. My name is Mary Kay Stillwell. Joining me in the service today are Amy Miller and Judy Hart. We are the worship associates here at the church and your worship leaders this morning. A special welcome this morning to Dr. Gabriel Breuer, who is an assistant professor at the University of Nebraska Libraries. Dr. Breuer is a member of the Yankton Sioux tribe, and he'll speak to us about his work in higher education with Native students. As you may remember, Gabe's also a member of the Building Relationships Advisory Group of the Walking in the Footsteps of Our Ancestors project. Boy, that's a long one. Welcome to this place means so much to so many. We are the beacon of liberal faith in Lancaster County and a sanctuary of care and community for everyone who comes through our doors. We aspire to be a loving community, uniting reason with spiritual exploration, with the goal of transforming ourselves and the world. This is hard work made lighter together. However we meet, in person or live stream, worship together is a chance to deepen our connection with the sources of meaning in our lives and to proclaim who we are and what we're about. We throw open the doors of the congregation and proclaim the radical love and welcome at the heart of our faith. So whoever you are, and whether this is your first or 500th visit, you are welcome here. So let's take a deep breath together, put our feet on the good earth, and then please join me in our land acknowledgement. This is a call and response. And if you don't have a piece of paper, hold up your hand and Karen will get it to you. Okay. We acknowledge the land and the people who have called this place home for thousands of years. The Oto-Missouria, Omaha, Ponca, Kansa, and Pawnee have lived here at one time. Many others have visited to collect salt at the local salt basin. Nesquithe, by which this area continues to be known, is the Omaha word for salt water. We thank them all for their good care of this sacred ground. While we cannot change the past, we are committed to right relationship with our native neighbors. We value their contributions to our community's vitality and diversity. These are not idle words. Our commitment is to action. We pledge to show up in support of local and national policies, programs, and measures that demand redress for lands taken, that offer justice for harm committed, and that seek to promote self-determination and equity for all peoples.
Stacy didn't like that challenge. Good morning. My name is Amy Miller. I'm also a member of the Worship Associates, and I'm currently attached to my own bracelet. We'll just say that this is a dramatic part that was intentional. We begin our services with the lighting of a chalice, which is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Today's chalice reading is from a Unitarian Universalist minister, Frank O. Holmes of Oklahoma. He was born in 1901 and passed in 1983, so you can imagine all the changes his life saw. Life does not call us merely to do over and over again what we've already done, nor does it call us to act out as puppets parts already assigned to us. No, we're free to bring into reality new relationships of understanding and goodwill. As Unitarians, we stay curious, we keep learning, and with new acts of courage, we forge new communities and a new understanding of our world. Now, stand in body or in spirit And join me in hymn number 66. This is a newer song for us. We are not that familiar with it, but we listened to it as part of the group that planned this service. We thought the words were really appropriate for this summer day, and we also thought that the tune was not that difficult. So rise and join me in hymn number 66. We did good for our first try on that song. I love that one. It's time for all ages. So any of the kids who are in the community this morning who want to come forward for the story, we're going to be watching a video story. You can't have Mark Weddleton reading Fabulous to you every week. Thank you. Anyone who wants to come
Okay,
forward
my
for the
name is
story?
Shirley Spotted Eagle, and I'm the liaison for Golden Hills School Division. I work with the two schools, Crowther Memorial Junior High School and Carsland School. I'll be reading the book When We Were Alone by David Alexander Robertson and Julie Fleck. Today I help my Gookum in her flower garden. She always wears colorful clothes. It's like she dresses in rainbows. When she bent down to prune some of the flowers, I couldn't even see her because she blended in with them. She was like a chameleon. Nookum, why do you wear so many colors? I asked. Nookum said, well, Nosasim. When I was your age, at home in my community, my friends and I wore many different colors. But at the school I went to far away from home, they gave us different clothes to wear. All the children were dressed the same, and our clothes weren't colorful at all. We all mixed together like storm clouds. Why did you have to dress like that? I asked. They didn't like that we wore such beautiful colors, Nookum said. They wanted us to look like everybody else. But sometimes in the fall, when we were alone and the leaves had turned to their warm autumn hues, we would roll around on the ground. We would pile the leaves over the clothes they had given us, and we would be colorful again, and this made us happy. Now, Nookum said, I always wear the most beautiful colors. After I helped with the flowers, we went over to the back gate. There were vines covering the gate, and they reached all the way to the ground. When my Gookum turned to fix the latch, I saw that her braid hung almost as low as the vines. It was like she had a tail. Nookum, why do you wear your hair so long? I asked. Nookum said, well, Nosasim. When I was your age at home in my community, my friends and I grew our hair long. just like our people have always done. It made us feel strong and proud. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they cut off all our hair. Our strands of hair mixed together on the ground like blades of dead grass. Why did you have to wear your hair like that? I asked. They didn't like that we were proud, Nookum said. They wanted us to be like everybody else. But sometimes in the spring, when we were alone and the grass had grown so long and thick in the field, we would pick the blades from the ground. We would braid them into the short hair they had given us, and we would have long hair again, and this made us happy. Now, Nookum said, I always wear my hair very long. After my Gookum had fixed the latch, I followed her to the birdhouse. There was a bird flying through the air like a jingle dress dancer. She fed the bird and whispered, Na bina yesus mikisu ta misa gitiyan ta maskisi yen. And her words sounded like a poem. Nookum, why do you speak Cree? I asked. Nookum said, well, nusisim. When I was your age at home in my community, my friends and I always spoke our language. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they wouldn't let us speak our words. All the children used their strange words, and we didn't understand them at all. Our voices blended together like a flock of crows. Why did you have to talk in their language? I asked. They didn't like that we spoke our language, Nookum said. They wanted us to talk like everybody else. But sometimes in the summer, when we were alone and our teachers weren't anywhere around the place we were, we would whisper to each other in Cree. We would say all the words we weren't allowed to say so that we wouldn't forget them, and this made us happy. Now, Nookum said, I always speak my language. After our gardening was done, I sat with my Gookum in the backyard. Her brother came over and sat with us. He comes over all the time. We drank tea and ate bannock. The tea was hot and sweet, and the bannock was moist and warm and melted in my mouth. My Gookum and my uncle talked and laughed like children. Nookum, why do you and Nookum always spend time together? I asked. Nookum said, well, Nisosim. When we were your age at home in our community, being with family was the most important thing. We played with each other, did chores together, and shared everything. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they wouldn't let us be together. My brother and I were separated like day and night. Why were you and Nookum separated? I asked. They didn't like when we were with family, Nookum said, because when we were together, we thought too much of home. But sometimes in the winter, when we were alone and we were sure that nobody could see us, we would find each other. We would take off our mitts, and in the crisp, cold air, we would hold hands so we could be with each other. And this made us happy. Now, Nookum said as she reached over and held my uncle's hand and mine, I am always with my family.
So that was a pretty serious story, but it reminds us who are not separated from our families, who are not separated from our communities, to appreciate and be grateful for those things that we have. Now, normally I would say kids could go back to their classroom, but you have a choice. There's also really great music coming up. We are so honored to have back to visit with the Unitarian Church of Lincoln, Oscar Rios. So you guys get to pick. Do you want to stay? Do you want to go sit with your mom and dad? Do you want to go to your classrooms? You get a pick. Classroom. You know what I'm going to pick? I'm going to pick that I'm going to sit in the front row and go, ooh.
Very good. Well, for those who were able to stay here, let me tell you a little bit about this instrument. The smallest size of zampoñas, or pan pipes, that we have today is this. Isn't that cool, Leah? These small children like you learn how to play these instruments, starting off with something small. Once they get good at it, they move to the next level, which is this. And once they get good at it, they begin to move up. And today it just happened that I decided to bring the giant pan pipes for you all to hear. So I am going to play a song called Alturas. Just imagine a conversation amongst the highest mountain in the Andes and the tiny little mountains in the Andes. Think about it this way. This is the tallest mountain in the Andes, and this is the tiniest mountain in the Andes. And it's a conversation going back and forth about the tall mountain telling all the stories of the Inca people to the small mountain.
Thanks, Oscar. And the kids are heading back to their classrooms. So, good morning, everybody. I'm Judy Hart. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. I want to offer a special welcome to those of you who are visiting for the first time. I have a few announcements to share as our church community extends beyond Sunday morning worship. So nice to see everybody. I love taking this moment to just make eye contact with everybody, like holding hands with the brother and sister in that frigid air. Next Sunday, August 4th, will be your first opportunity to meet our new interim minister, Reverend A.J. Galazin, after the service, or at 1 p.m. he'll be joining us out on the lawn for the Allison Funderland games like croquet and bocce ball. So if you haven't already purchased that auction item, you still have a chance to do that today. Along with Nebraskans for Peace, we are co-sponsoring the annual Lantern Float at Holmes Lake on Tuesday, August 6th from 5 to 8 p.m. See your e-blast, the Friday e-blast, or Facebook for more details. Or ask at the office, they can help you there also. Reverend A.J. Galazin's first day in the pulpit is Sunday, August 11th. So you've got worship associates for one more Sunday. So Reverend A.J. is going to sit in the house, and he's going to watch us do our thing. So hopefully we will do well. So if you pick up an August newsletter in the front lobby and read more truths and one lie about our new minister. So what happens next? Because I didn't bring my, are you up next? Oh, good. I don't have a costume malfunction. Oh, I'll pretend. Okay, thanks, Anne.
I suppose I could have come up and tried to wrestle you for the podium.
Next Sunday.
While the new minister is watching. No pressure. This is the time in each service where we share our joys and sorrows with one another. Joys get magnified when we tell them to our friends, and sorrows become easier to bear. We hope that by tying these connections tighter during the joys and sorrows, that we are reminded that we all experience joy and we all experience sorrow. For those of you that are on the live stream, we welcome you to type into the chat your joys and sorrows so that I can share them with the congregation. Let us start with sorrow. If you or someone you know is currently carrying a sorrow today, please type or say their name in this shared community. Jawla. Pat.
Erica, Megan, and Nova, as the California fires are getting closer to their house.
Erica, Megan, and Nova, as California wildfires are unfortunately getting closer to their house. Jim. Orally.
Genocide right here from George Washington on.
Genocide right here in America from George Washington onward. Jason has added a sorrow in the chat. He wishes us to think of Scott. If sorrow was all that we lived with, of course, this would be a hard world indeed. Luckily, we have joys, both small and domestic, and large and life-altering. Either type your name or a name of one you want to share a joy with in the chat, or share their name spoken aloud here in this community. Baby Mallory. Andy, Worship Associates' new baby. Jean's birthday tomorrow.
Granddaughter Kate's 16th birthday yesterday.
Granddaughter Kate's 16th birthday yesterday. start of the Olympics.
Carrie and I celebrated our 43rd anniversary last week.
Carrie and Karen had their 43rd anniversary last week, which is astonishing and means that they got married when they were just 2 years old.
My wife survived knee replacement surgery on Monday, and she's recuperating at home now, but pretty sore, but doing better.
Roger shares that his wife is just recuperating from knee surgery, sore, but doing good. In the chat, we have for joy from Jason Kamala. I'll add my own joy. My friend Maddie has just completed her gender confirmation surgery. We know that some folks feel shy or feel like this is a joy or sorrow that must stay private, or it's something you're still percolating on, trying to choose. Is it a joy or a sorrow? Because some things are so complex and are both. For those silent joys and sorrows that all carry, and for those joys and sorrows that were spoken here, please join me in a moment of shared silence. Thank you for your presence. Our next hymn is found in the Teal Hymn Book, and the words will be on the screen. This hymn is number 1052, The Oneness of Everything, in your Teal Hymn Books, number 1052. Please stand in body or in spirit as we sing the next hymn. Bill, thank you so much for helping guide us with your excellent playing. You are a true gem. Each week we take up a collection to support the work of this church and our partners in the community. We do this because we all grow from our community here, but we also want to make sure that we continue to impact the world around us. Some of us give through our time, some through our talent, some through our treasure. I see some of you doing all three. As Oscar brings us the next guest music, the ushers will pass the offering plates. You can give by placing money in those bowls as they pass around. You can also text. We're so techie. You can text UC Lincoln and the amount of your gift to the number 73256. That's on the screen. It's UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256. The offering will now be greatly received, and our guest music will be gratefully received. Our reading today is from Black Elk, a Hioka of the Ogallala and Lakota people. He was second cousin to Crazy Horse and fought at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. He survived the Wounded Knee Massacre in 1890 and went on to pass away of old age at the age of 86 in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. Our reading is by Black Elk It's number 614 if you ever want to go back and look at it in the gray hymnal. Then I was standing on the highest mountain of them all, and around beneath me was the whole hoop of the world. And while I stood there, I saw more than I can tell, and I understood more than I saw. For I was seeing in the sacred manner the shape of all things of the Spirit. The shapes as they must live together like one being. And I saw that the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that make one circle, wide as daylight and starlight, and in the center grew one mighty tree.
Good morning, everybody. I'm gonna get my talk pulled up here, so, and also I guess I can watch the clock. I don't want to go too long. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Gabriel Bruyere, and I'm an enrolled member of the Yankton Sioux Tribe. Currently, I work at the University of Nebraska in the library. I'm an assistant professor and research specialist librarian. And I see some of my colleagues. I saw Meg Mering. She's another one of my colleagues at the library, so it's glad to see some familiar faces. You know, this is Lincoln. It's a small town. I guess everybody knows everybody. Which I like. I've been at Lincoln for quite a while. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm also the City of Lincoln Commissioner for the Nebraska Commission on Indian Affairs, a post I've held since 2018. And so today I'm going to talk about, I've titled my talk Sermon, which I don't know, I'll go between sermon and talk, Healing in Higher Education for Native American Students. And it's a really important topic for me. I've been in higher education my adult life. I come from a tradition of higher education and firm belief that through education, there's a number of good things that come about. Healing is one of them. So I'll talk a little bit about healing, truth in healing, and visibility, community, and healing that can happen in higher education. So a little bit about me. I'm native and non-native from South Dakota. On my dad's side, I'm an enrolled member of the Yankton Sioux Tribe, like I said, and I'm Norwegian on my mom's side. My mom's a second-generation American, and her family grew up in the northeast part of South Dakota near Roslyn, South Dakota, if anybody's familiar with Roslyn. If anybody's a polka fan or aficionado, my grandma was good friends with Myron Florin, and so there's that. So they went to high school together in Roslyn. And so and then my dad's side, he grew up on the Yankton Indian Reservation by Greenwood, South Dakota. If anybody knows where that is, it's right across the river from the state of Nebraska. And so I was born in Vermilion, and I grew up in Sisseton, South Dakota, within the boundaries of the Lake Traverse Reservation, which was opened up for allotment in the late 19th century, which is when my mother's family went there. So my father holds a special place for me. He was a Vietnam combat veteran who came back after serving 2 tours. He was in the Marine Corps in the, I'm forgetting that right now, I should have written it down, wounded in combat and came back and then took advantage of his funding to pursue higher education. And he looked at the opportunity for higher education as a way to escape the poverty and the dire situation on the Yankton Indian Reservation, which at the time was in pretty bad shape. There's some interesting accounts of life for him. Without very much food, they would eat food that they would gather by the banks of the Missouri River, hunt for what they could find. And so education for him was a way to escape that, to move up in society, as they say. And so he, after when he was about 40 years of age, went to the University of South Dakota to earn a history degree, went on to earn a master's in public administration, and then pursued a doctorate in history at Oklahoma State University. And around then, he was also a family man, with 3 kids. Unfortunately, my parents' marriage did not survive the graduate school experience. And so my mom moved up with her young family to, my young family. I was young. I was about 4 years old. I still remember moving up to Sisseton while my dad pursued his doctorate in history, and then he went back to the University of South Dakota and served as the director of the Institute of American Indian Studies for about 1990 to 2003. And so throughout that, I bring this up because I didn't realize this until I, got to college, went to graduate school, and I didn't realize that most Native American students don't have that sort of role model and that sort of encouragement to pursue higher education. So for me, it was always there in the background, and it was just something I kind of figured I would end up doing, but I went a long and winding path to get there. It's a surprise to some students when I give talks and say, I went through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different colleges, before I finished my education, and it took many, many years. I think around 19 years in higher education, and students are often surprised to hear that because they think that college goes by quick and the process of learning is over 4 years, which, as we all know, it doesn't really work out that way. So I studied at many different schools, and just in the interest of time, I'll give you just a short list. I started at Concordia College up in Moorhead, Minnesota, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Transferred down to the University of South Dakota, but because I was a very irresponsible 20-year-old, I didn't get myself registered in time. So at that point, I had the opportunity to go study abroad, and I studied down in Mexico, in the state of Puebla at the University of the Americas. So I had a chance to talk to Oscar about that this morning, which was wonderful. And then I came back to the United States to the University of Minnesota Morris, where I got a undergraduate in philosophy, and then to grad school at the University of Nebraska, where I also studied philosophy and earned my master's and doctorate here at UNL. And so I came to Lincoln in 2011. So it's been quite a while. It's been a wonderful journey. I never really tire of the city and the history and the people here. So this is a wonderful opportunity to meet new people. I've heard of the Unitarian Church from many people, and I understand that there are a lot of folks who are connected to the university and do work. So it's a real honor to talk to you this morning. I'll start with a story that my dad told me. I'll start with a story about my dad. Somewhere in between finishing my classwork and then finishing my first thesis that I wrote, we were having coffee, and at that time I was pretty fixed on studying in pursuing a career in higher education, and so we were talking one afternoon, and I asked him, what was the most important thing for you, having been the director, having, you know, been in education for so long. And he told me that, you know, for him, the most important thing was for him being the Indian on the other side of the desk, being the Indian on the other side of the desk. And I laughed. I thought he was kind of joking around with me. And I've tried in my memory to pinpoint when this conversation happened. I think, to the best of my recall, it was probably 2006. And that thing that he said to me didn't sink in until 2019. It didn't really make sense to me until I had gone through the education system, and I was, you know, working. At that time, I was working as an education and outreach coordinator at the Mid-America Transportation Center, you know, putting outreach programs together for Native American students throughout the state of Nebraska. And it didn't, at that time, I was on a walk, and I was, you know, just thinking about my dad, and that phrase came back to me, and it clicked. And that really sort of changed the kind of purpose that I was thinking of at that time in my life. At that time, it was kind of a transition period. I just earned my doctorate. Thankfully, they gave me a promotion and a raise at the job, so I stayed on a little bit longer. But I really did take seriously this idea of being the Indian on the other side of the desk. Representation, visibility, and representation for Native Americans in higher education is appallingly low. And for students who are coming to the university for the first time from reservation communities, not seeing anybody like you is a real barrier, real obstacle for you know, making that decision to come to university. You know, often I hear, oh, education isn't for me. I don't fit in here, and for me, that's a real. It's a very sad thing, and it's something that I work for, you know, in my career, and as much as I can to create opportunities for Native students. So I was also asked to talk a little bit about the Genoa Indian School. I'm sorry, the Genoa Industrial School project, the Digital Reconciliation Project. So I have something on that, but I'll tie them together insofar as there's just a long history of exclusion and of erasing Native culture, erasing Native language within the higher education system, the education system in general, the higher education in particular. You know, the cultures, the nations that existed here for many, many years, you know, before settlers came in, invaders came in, were classified within, you know, 19th century ways of thinking as primitive and savage. Although some, you know, professors viewed the Native people in a sort of romantic, idealized light that still painted over their actual experience, and seeing them as actual people who are out there doing, or trying to live in the world, trying to adapt in the world. And so, you know, that unfortunately has been carried on for a number of years. So I'll talk about some of those. I'll talk about some quotes that I have written down here for federal Indian policy and boarding schools. And most of these come from, actually they all come from the end of the 19th century, but you might find traces of them even today. And so the Lake Mohonk Conference, which was a group of people who had the Native people in their best interest, but still from an assimilationist vein, said that the Indian, quote, the Indian must have a knowledge of the English language that he may associate with his white neighbors and transact business as they do. He must have practical industrial training to fit him to compete with others in the struggle for life. He must have a Christian education to enable him to perform the duties of the family, the state, and the church. And you see the assimilationist language in there about fitting in, changing religion, and adapting oneself to the industrialized economy that was forming all over the United States. The next one talks about civilization, and it's from Edward P. Smith, who was a commissioner. Says that any plan for civilization which does not provide for training the young, even though at a largely increased expenditure, is short-sighted and expensive. Now, in the time of 1873, of course, the Indian Wars were happening all over the Great Plains, and I think the federal government was coming around to the idea that they weren't going to beat the Indians on the battlefield, so they would beat them in a different way, and that would be to take the children and to educate them at boarding schools, which, as we heard from that wonderful story, did their best to erase culture, language, and cultural expression. Commissioner Ezra Haight mentioned the exposure of children who attended only day schools to the demoralization and degradation of an Indian home neutralized the efforts of the school teacher, especially those efforts which are directed to the advancement in morality and civilization. So this calls for, complete attendance at the schools that they went to, not being able to go home, visit their parents, see their relatives, talk their language. They had an idea for education, and it was an all-in sort of thing. And so, in particular, if I remember correctly, there were seven recognized Indian boarding schools in the state of Nebraska. And I thought of another book, The Middle Five, which is a really good book by Francis LaFleche, talks about the, I believe it was Presbyterian boarding school on the Omaha Indian Reservation. That's really good. I was going to include a quote from that. But today I'll talk a little bit about the Genoa Indian Industrial School in Genoa, Nebraska. It was the 4th largest non-reservation boarding school established by the United States Office for Indian Affairs. It was opened on February 20th, 1884, and like other federal Indian boarding schools, its mission was to educate Native American children in order to assimilate them into American society. The students that came to the Genoa Indian School were from more than 10 states and over 40 different tribal nations. In time, the school grew from the original 74 students to an enrollment of 599 in a single year, and encompassed over 30 buildings on 640 acres. The school was in operation from 1884 through 1934 and enrolled over 4,300 children during its time of operation. And so the Genoa Indian School Digital Reconciliation Project is a project. Do I have the history of that? No, I don't have the history of that written down here. But it was, the effort is to digitize all the records that were left over from the school over the 50 years of its existence. At the time of closing, the records were scattered out throughout different archives. I myself have had the opportunity to go to the National Archives in Washington, D.C. I did the trip last summer. I was there from July 10th through the 21st. And during my time, the National Archives has 24 boxes of materials that are directly from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And then they have other boxes that have records that are related to the Genoa Indian School. There's also records in Denver, Colorado, and Kansas City, Missouri. But the holdings in Washington are the largest ones. So during my time, I did 572 page scans, and then other team members that year did 2,671 scans. And even so, of the 24 boxes, there are still 19 boxes of material, direct material related to the school. And thankfully this summer we've been able to send a few more people, to the archives to continue to scan. We haven't had a catch-up meeting, so I don't know where we stand at this point, but the effort to digitize these documents, to bring them forward, is one that I'll talk a little, that I'd like to tie into Truth and Healing. So the Truth and Healing Commission, which has started to help get acts through Congress, has this statement. It says, "We have a right to know the truth. Over the course of a century, hundreds of thousands of Native children were taken or coerced away from their families and tribes and forced to attend government-sanctioned Indian schools. These were tools of assimilation and cultural genocide, resulting in the loss of language and culture and the permanent separation of children from their families." And to date, there's been no counting of the number of children forced to attend the schools, the number of children who were abused, died, or went missing while at the schools, and the long-term impacts on the children and the family of who were forced to attend the boarding schools. So in my time there, I can attest to that. Part of the records that I went through, there was a folder that contained requests to visit home from students, and it was very sad to read these documents because they were requests to visit for special events that were rejected by the administration, mainly for the same reason. And I would remember seeing something like the response from the superintendent is, the student is discouraged from going home due to the family situation. Parents are unfit to receive them. They would likely not return to the school. Keeping the students at the school is in the best interest of the child. And it wasn't just an isolated case. It was just over and over and over. And so you're going through these documents and you're seeing this over and over, but the level of control that the superintendent had to kind of set the direction of these students' lives was surprising. And like we saw with the story, the opportunities to meet with families still existed. Likely there would be relatives that the students would have, but that's not the same thing as being home. And I thought about that as something that us who have grown up the way we've grown up just really take for granted, and it just really doesn't present itself to be excluded in such a way. So that was that was part of the difficulty in doing this digitization work. It's physically taxing in that you're working on a very, you're scanning things and then you're checking the quality of the scan. And with every scan that you have to make, there's about 10 fields to fill in for metadata. So you enter in information about the document, and then part of it can be copied and pasted, but a lot of it you have to provide a description of the document based on what it is. So there's a lot of typing, there's a lot of small print. You're checking to make sure that everything is preserved well, and it's very important because the records themselves haven't been viewed by anybody associated with the school throughout its history. They've just been kept by the administration and then distributed when the school closed. And they contain so much information for families who are still around, descendants of people who were at Genoa, whose lives were changed because of Genoa in both positive and negative ways. And so it's bringing these stories out. It's bringing this bringing the truth out that in a way that just never has been done before. Part of the reason why I wanted to include the quotes that I did was to give an idea of some of what's in the mind of Native American students who and families who have a little bit of what's the most diplomatic word that I can use? They're a little suspicious of institutions of higher education, for good reason. But what I'd like to talk about, and I'm over time, and I'll wrap up in just a moment here. But times are different now. There are American Indian visibility in higher education has grown so much, and projects like the Genoa Project and the Walking in Our Footsteps Project show that there is support for putting the history of a people in the hands of the people themselves. There's self-determination for the stories. There's control over the story in a way that there hasn't been for a long time. And that fills me with hope, and it fills me with a sense of healing, because it is changing the way that things have been done in the past, that natives have been treated in the past. Sorry, I'm of the generation where I'm okay with saying Indian, but a lot of the younger generations prefer Native American or Indigenous people, so I'll probably use all three of them throughout the course of my talk, so I apologize for that. But the stories of the people are coming out, and they're being seen in a way that hasn't been the case prior to this. So that's wonderful. And then I've also been asked to talk about the Unite group. So Unite is the University of Nebraska Intertribal Exchange, and it's a recognized student organization for Native American students on campus. There are about 40 students or so, which is a pretty high number of students, which sadly is about exhaust the number of Native American students in the whole of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, which is really sad. It's I've crunched the numbers before, and it usually comes to about 0.02% of the overall student population. And so, there's that to think about. But students who come to the university are working on the projects like the Genoa Project. They get involved with it, and they help to get the story out. They'll tell their families about the website, and then the families will, start to go in and start to search in the website and discover, family stories that they didn't know, relatives that had attended, relatives that had attended and made it, and who had not made it. Finding out the fate of those people is very important for a lot of people and a lot of the families that go through that. So students are also helping with the process of taking the digitized record and then uploading the metadata, so that all the information is available to anybody who wants to go and look at it. And they also participate with the Oto Missouri folks to welcome them to campus, to learn their stories and understand why it's so important to bring them back. And so as a faculty advisor and a former student myself, it's just been so wonderful to see the student side of discovery, the student side of going to college and feeling a place of being welcomed, and seeing other people that are like them, and realizing that times have changed since their parents' and grandparents' time, and that they are welcome. And I think that community, that visibility, and that way to discourse culturally with people who have shared experience is a very important thing in higher education, and I believe provides the opportunity for much healing. So like I said, I can talk a lot, but it looks like that I'm past my time, so I'd like to thank you so much for this opportunity to visit with you this morning, and thank you so much.
It's on. I think we all just applauded Dr. Bergier for the speech that he just gave us, but I'd also like to thank him for his work in the greater community and the work that he is doing to bring about more information and more healing. So thank you again. You are all so good about trying 2 relatively new hymns. We've saved for you a good one that gets your spirit moving. Please stand in body or in spirit and join me from the gray hymnal in number 168. One more step from the gray hymnal, number 168.
We draw this service to a close with thanks to Gabe for his work and for sharing it with us this morning. With joy and gratitude, we are also drawing our month-long Indigenous Learning and Healing program to a close. 4 weeks ago, I quoted my grandfather saying, "Good work is the road to good luck." We've learned that good luck is also the road to good work. That's also true.
Our good fortune includes Aaron Poor, Greg Victors, and our guests, including Dr. Gabe and Oscar Rios today. Thanks to them, we have, among other things, reset our minds, or at least we've begun to, and learned a bit of the wisdom of traditional Native dance. We can, if necessary, prepare the ground for the upcoming powwow with a snake dance. And the powwow opens on August 1st at the Indian Center, and it's going for 3 days this year, so hopefully we'll all be able to participate somehow. All of our guests have shared their wisdom, their music, and their mindfulness so that we can better appreciate and understand all those with whom we share our community. A program doesn't happen without a village, and we'd like to thank Dr. Bob Fuson, our accompanist Bill Carpenter, and our great AV team, Chelsea for her recommendations, Jean and Wendy for their e-blasts, and everyone who has contributed their time and their expertise to make this month of learning and healing. I have one more sentence, but I wanted to add something. We will participate on September 21st in the 3rd annual Oto Missouri Day. The details have yet to be worked out, so watch your e-blasts. One last special thanks to Suzanne Shackelford, I hope she's watching this morning, for her diligence in preparing the July 2024 resource guide, and as well as the original resource guide that was created in 2022. Those are still available, so they're on the website.
So thanks to all of you for joining us this month. Our closing words are by Reverend Frederick E. Gilleth. May the love that overcomes all differences, may the love that overcomes all differences, that heals all wounds, that puts to flight all fears, that reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. Amen. As our friend Aaron Poor would say, Wado, relatives. Thank you, beloveds.
We're gonna sing one more song, and you are not going home until you sing with me. I mean, I'm just following instructions here, you know. Here it is. It is called the brunette butterfly. Just think about a butterfly flying everywhere. Did you all hear the hey hey part? All right, I know that you are following me. So I just want to make sure we are in communication. So the hey hey part is all of you. Just sing if you're able, or just think about singing, and I will feel that. Of course, I have the drum. I wish one of you could play the drum, but I'll be easy on you today. So let's do this again. Beautiful. I like that. Give yourself a big round of applause. And then right after the hey hey part, I'm going to sing the song. It's a carnival song. Let's enjoy life together. Let's bring the guitars, the tiny little charango, the panpipes. Let's just play together. And then with your hands, you're going to hear con las manos. When you hear con las manos, you clap 3 times. Con las manos, blah, blah, blah. Only 3 times. Con las manos. Con las manos. Beautiful. Right after that, you're going to hear con los tacos. All right, not the Mexican tacos you'll have afterwards, but the soles of your shoes. So when you're here con los tacos, if you're able, you go like 1, 2, 3. Con los tacos. Con los tacos. Con las manos. Con los tacos. We now know Spanish. Well, I know, Mark, you know Spanish, so you know I'm telling the truth. All the way from the top. La 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 hey hey la 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 hey hey. They're getting the message. We are going to give them another drum. All right. Just what you are doing, that's all that matters. Yes, there we go. Very good. And one of you. La 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 hey hey. La 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 hey hey. La 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 hey hey. La 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 hey hey. Al sonar de guitarras todos canten y bailen la morenada. Al sonar de guitarras todos canten y bailen la morenada. Con las manos, con los tacos, viva la fiesta. Con las manos, con los tacos, viva la fiesta. Viva la fiesta. Viva la fiesta. La 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 hey hey. La 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 hey hey. La 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 hey hey. La 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 hey hey. A big round of applause to our drummers. Have a wonderful day and thank you for what you're doing.